evening, everyone, and thank you for the honor of being able to come and share my story. I feel so surrounded by such amazing people tonight. So our little girl was born on the 12th of January with the help of a formidable team and of a midwife and a doula. And the title of my talk reads, "The Doctor Who Chose to Have a Home Birth on Purpose." But in truth, I think the home birth actually chose me. I come from a conservative, traditional Tswana family, a very medical family. We believe in the institution of medicine, its authority, and we have complete trust in it. So my mom and all her sisters are nurses. My gran and all her sisters are nurses. My mother's a midwife, a midwife lecturer at the Free State School of Nursing. Her sister, my aunt, and her husband are also nurses in government practice. And my father's a medical doctor. So what does a good Tswana girl do? She goes and studies medicine. Throughout my training, I spent about 8 months in a government hospital maternity unit in the Northwest as an intern, and 12 months as a student were spent in various various levels of maternity units in government practice in the Western Cape. So anything from an MOU to Grootiskied tertiary level. And all that time, I remember women being prodded, shouted at, forced to clean up their own liquor from the floor, separated from their loved ones, and often examined without privacy, with sometimes more than 10 people in the room. And of course, there are exceptions. This isn't, always the case. And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for medicine, like if you're pregnant and you're in cardiac failure and you can't even breathe, obviously there's a place for that. But stories like that would put anyone off of giving birth in a hospital. But those weren't actually the reasons why I decided to not give birth in hospital. I'd actually been doing a lot of research at the time, and I had read that women who give birth at home don't require analgesia. They have a much better experience. I was trying to avoid a Caesar at all costs, knowing how high this cesarean section rate is in South Africa. And I didn't want a doctor near me. I'm quite weird that way in that I hate being in hospitals because I feel like I leave my autonomy at the door when I walk in. And that suddenly, all knowledge about what's wrong with me and what's best for me is left in the hands of a complete stranger. And I can say that because I've been that stranger for so many people. Yeah, and this is going to sound crazy coming from a conservative, good Christian Tswana girl, but I really believe that my daughter chose the home birth because she knew what kind of mother it would birth for her. So I decided to have a home birth, and as the powers that be would have it, I found a midwife who had actually given us a talk when we were students about empowering women to give birth in positions that are most comfortable for them, as opposed to the lying on the back, on your bed on the back, on your back on the bed with the legs in the stirrup position, which healthcare workers love because it suits them best. And the first thing that was really different about deciding to birth with this midwife, I think, which is unique to her, and I might be wrong because I've only experienced her, but is that her emphasis is on the fact that all the prep that you do before birth is what will result in the outcome, and that's what shapes the experience that you have. And that this was primarily my responsibility. And so it was very holistic as well. She emphasized what you eat and you drink affects your birth, the importance of exercise and antenatal classes, so as to empower you. And also her and my doula were also very much interested in me as a person. They wanted to know what my struggles were, what stressed me. Those things were really, really important to them too. And so this holistic care really agreed with me. At the same time, people thought I was absolutely insane. Family, friends, and colleagues thought, how can you have a home birth? How can you deal without having any analgesia? And what about the mess? Oh my goodness, what are you going to do about the mess? and the worst yet, what people said, was, anything could go wrong. You know, how can you put the life of your child in danger like that? How irresponsible of you, I remember you were saying earlier. And that's what people said to me. And I was even called a stupid hippie. And what I found really funny is that how can people take a chance with the various interventions that we do unnecessarily in hospital? And I said I'll take my chance with nature for this natural birth. And so the day came, and it wasn't perfect. It was really long, I thought that I would be in complete control of the process, that, you know, I would say, pain, you know, you're under my control, and you're gonna not be as bad as I think, as you are right now. But actually, birth completely overpowers you, completely overtakes your whole being. And the best thing you can do is just to ride it out. Yeah, I mean, I didn't look like any of the women in these amazing birth photographs who look so calm and graceful. I was nothing like that. And I mean, people keep asking me, how could you stand the pain? Why would you take yourself through that? And my answer to that was that, yeah, I mean, I think we live in a society where we do as much as possible to avoid pain and suffering, and I think that actually makes us what a guy called Nassim Taleb calls anti-fragile. So in the English language, we don't have a word for an opposite word for fragile. So, like for instance, a wine glass in a box, if it's disturbed or has any stressor, it shatters, right? So. And if it didn't break, we'd call it robust. But imagine if that wine glass in that box not only didn't shatter, but actually became stronger. And I think that this is what being anti-fragile is. It's able to take stress, but it also, what it does to you is that it makes you stronger. So this is what I believe about birth. I believe that when we don't allow ourselves to go through that natural process, we rob ourselves of the full potential that our Creator wanted us to have. And I still remember being in tears in my midwife's office, just being so worried about the kind of mother that I'd be, because I was looking at her and the other midwife in the room and saying, wow, I look at you two, I want to be like you. You're so confident, you're so proud of the decisions that you've made, and I just didn't see myself ever getting there. But strangely enough, I think if I hadn't gone through that birth process, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. And I'd do it over and over and over again, God willing. So that's my story.